अजूनी से गुर प्रसाद जप आद सच जुगाद सच है भी सच नानक होसी भी सच.
This is a Gurudwara, a house of worship, a temple of Sikhism, the fifth largest religion in this world. And this is a Sangat on a typical Sunday, a gathering of Sikhs, followers of Sikhism, who come together to pray, to uplift, and celebrate equality in the world. They talk, eat, and volunteer, a selfless service called Seva. This gathering is peaceful, full of love, where everyone and all are welcomed and considered equal.
Guru Prasad Jap Aad Sach Jugad Sach.
There are approximately 700,000 Sikhs living in communities in the United States, very peacefully, full of tradition.
ਇੱਕ ਬੇਨੰਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਇੱਕ ਬੇਨੰਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਇੱਕ ਬੇਨੰਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਇੱਕ ਬੇਨੰਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਸੁਣਨਾ.
It is the most inclusive religion where everyone can eat a full free hot meal called a langar, where women and men are equal and where the entire purpose is to give back to the ones in need with selfless service.
ਇੱਕ ਬੇਨੰਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਇੱਕ ਬੇਨੰਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੁਨਜ ਕਰ ਵਸਿਆੜਾ ਤੁਨਜ ਕਰ.
Sikhism is a religion that was started by Guru Nanak, and subsequently we had 9 other gurus, and they preached a philosophy of oneness, of the oneness of humanity, of the oneness of all.
Kiran is the executive director for SALDEF, Sikh American Legal Defense and Education Fund.
Sikh is somebody who follows these principles and is constantly learning and growing in their spirituality and in understanding this oneness.
The Sikh culture harkened back to the northern part of India in the 1500s in Punjab, in the present-day India and Pakistan. Members of the community worked on railroads in the 1800s in the United States.
The Sikh community has a long history in the United States. There were Sikh Americans or Sikhs that came over to California at the turn of the century in the late 1800s, the early 1900s. They were farmers in California. They worked on the railroads. They worked in the lumber yards. They really supported a lot of the infrastructure development on the West Coast. They've since, many of them have settled, and we have, over a century's worth of Sikh American history on the West Coast, subsequent migrations to the East Coast and other parts of the United States.
Wherever they go, Sikhs are quite often this peaceful and all-embracing faith and are often misunderstood. To this day, Sikhs are misrepresented.
You can see these pictures. It's obviously something devastating has happened. And again, unconfirmed report that a plane has crashed into one of the towers there. We are efforting more information on this subject as it becomes available to you.
Remember, in the United States, when Sikhs were mistaken as Muslims, that was during 9/11. Many have been attacked and harmed since then.
So around the time of 9/11, because of what we saw in media, because of the imagery of Osama bin Laden being shown with a beard, a long beard and turban, and I think I forgot to mention earlier that another article of faith that Sikhs keep is uncut hair. So Sikh men do have turbans and beards. Because largely the broader American community and society didn't understand who Sikhs were, they identified Sikhs as terrorists incorrectly. And we saw a real spike in hate crimes and violence against our communities.
The shooting began around 10:30 Sunday morning as many inside the Sikh temple were gathering for worship. Witnesses said the first shots came outside as Page approached the building and opened fire, killing 2 before heading into the temple.
ਜਬ ਗੁਰ ਦੇਖੈ ਸੁਭ ਦਿਸ਼ਟ ਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਮੁਖ ਦੇਵਾ ਅਗਮ ਅਲਖ ਕਾਰਨ ਪੁਰਖ ਜੋ ਫਰਮਾਵੇ ਸੋ ਕਹੋ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਮਰਦਾਸ ਕਾਰਨ
Every time I hear of bullying, it almost takes a piece of me away because it makes me sad to know that like school should be the safest place for kids.
Noreen Singh is a community organizer in Colorado. She has been particularly inspired by her father.
Dad was serving and he was the highest ranking member at the time to wear a turban and have a beard in the US Army. So growing up, I would always see my dad fighting for what he believed in and being able to serve with his military uniform and wearing his articles of faith.
And just like Noreen's father, many have had to fight to keep their articles of faith, such as the turban, the beard, a kada, a prominent marker of the Sikh faith.
I had lots of incidents where people called me Bin Laden or other names, not in the military. This is in the civilian world, and you just it's difficult to find words to sort of express how frustrating it was going through that period.
And it was Lieutenant Colonel Kamal Khalsi of the US Army who was the first to get religious accommodations for several religions and fought for over a decade. He is an emergency medicine doctor in the Army.
When one of the largest and oldest institutions in the United States can say, look, we don't accept you, that sends a not so subtle message to the entire nation. So it's important that we take up these fights, and there's a lot of institutional momentum in a place like the military where they know that they've been doing things a certain way for forever. So it's up to us to stand up and challenge those assumptions and challenge their institutional knowledge.
A huge part of the Sikh faith from its origin is to defend the defenseless. That has been there for centuries. And even now, Sikhs in India serve in great numbers in the Indian military and are respected and honored. Yet, the same community of Sikhs faces so many struggles growing up and in different aspects of their life in America.
My personal opinion is it stems from ignorance and from cultural incompetence and from political hate speech. There is, politicians, I think, have a responsibility to bring people together and create constructive dialogue and help literally build a better future for our children.
Or when you interact with non-Indian population, personally, like how do you actually feel? Like, do you feel safe?
I feel I don't honestly feel too safe when I'm out in public.
Navpreet, or as he goes by, Nav the poet, is a social media Sikh American influencer, with some of his videos garnering over 3 million views on TikTok, and often teaches elements of Sikh faith through his videos.
See, turbans were worn in, during the times of the Sikh gurus, which was the 1600s. Some were worn as a symbol of status and class, but our gurus preached equality of all people, and so adopting the turban was a statement of that equality, that all people are equal and royal in that sense.
But holding on to his faith and wearing the articles of the religion has not been easy for Navpreet. In fact, there has been a history of facing racism and xenophobia.
The bullying that my community deals with, especially as kids and especially in school, is something I'm very passionate about working to change, and I think that's why I do a lot of what I do, which is educate people about the Sikh faith. I spend a lot of time on my platforms and with people talking about it, answering questions, sharing information, and it's because I don't want people to go through what I've been through. This identity that I've been raised to cherish and value so much has been questioned and demonized over and over again, whether it's verbal harassment or seeing the violence against my community as well. It's a challenge to walk through even the streets of New York City without worrying that something might happen.
So then what is the solution here? And what is needed to start a dialogue, some change, a conversation? Where does one begin?
I think as long as we all can work together to try to create that America that we read about in books, that is something that actually gives me a lot of hope.
We are, neighbors. We've been part of this country, for over 100 years. And I think the Sikh community has a lot to offer.
I don't have any specific ideas, but I do think actually taking our concerns into account and really spending time with our community so that when you advocate for us, you know why it is you're advocating and why these articles and this identity and our beliefs matter in the first place.
The Nazis wanted to create something that was all completely uniform, and I think that that was a failure. So I think it's important to allow people the freedom to figure out who they are, how they want to practice, and I would definitely fight for that.